Genocide have claimed responsibility as the only functioning airport in the Libyan capital have been involved in alleged rocket attack. The International Criminal Court has found former Congolese warlord Bosco Ntaganda guilty of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Hello viewers, you're watching the World Today News Bulletin. I am Fatmata Jaju. We now kick off with our first story. The Gambia Press Union began its institutional submission before the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission on the violations of journalists and the media perpetrated by the former APRC regime under Jammeh. Lamin Cham, the editor-in-chief of Standard newspaper, was the first to appear before the commission for having undergone arrest, detention and torture by the security operatives. Mr. Cham told the commission that he was taken first to the police headquarters in Banjul and then to the then NIA office, where he was tortured for 5 days by a team led by Tumbul Tamba and Musa Jammeh. Listen to him in this insight.
Happened when nightfall arrived?
Well, I actually recognized one Mohammed Haidara when he was leaving, before he came back in the night. When he was leaving, he told me, Mr. Cham, do you know what brought you here? I said, no, I had no idea. Even though I was told, I had the policeman talking about it, I told him I didn't know what brought me here. He said, you'll find out in good time. He left.
So when you say Mohammed Haidara, do you know who he was at the time?
He was deputy director of NIA. The director then was Harry Sambo.
And is it Mohammed or Momodu?
Mohammed Haidara.
Mohammed, okay.
Yeah.
That's your record.
Mohammed and Mohammadu sometimes, but I think Mohammed Haidara.
But from
Haidara
what you
settled
said,
it.
he was the deputy director of the NIA at the time.
NIA.
So after that conversation with him, and he told you will soon find out why you're here?
He left.
He left?
Yeah.
What happened next?
In the middle of the night, about 2 a.m. or something like that, I was sleeping actually, I was woke from sleep. Somebody woke me up and said, yes, come.
Where were you sleeping at that point?
That reception I told you. And I followed the person. I didn't know the person from Adam. I've never seen the person. And I followed him. Then I was taken behind a building, the main building at the NIA then. And there was some sort of a ring, like some people put some stone boulders around a trip of sand, as you often see all around. Yeah, when people are constructing something. So I was taken to that ring and placed in the middle of the ring. And suddenly I saw Tumbul Tamba. Tumbul Tamba I recognized from him. He was from the State Guards, and Musa Jammeh, who was called Maliamugu.
When you saw them, can you tell us what happened?
Well, even before I actually asked anything or found out anything, blows, whips, rain started falling on me. I could not understand, but I saw 8 other people who were obviously drunk. From meters, you could breathe, you could smell alcohol from their breath. I've never met them. I've never known them, and they didn't look like they know me because they were total strangers to me. But Tumbul Tamba and Musa Jammeh, I bleeding. Every part of my body was bleeding.
Sekou Jammeh, Secretary General, who represented the union on Monday, will continue the long list of inhuman treatments in the form of killings, torture, and forced disappearance and harassment meted on the media fraternity. He said the suppression on the media and the freedom of the press and freedom of individual journalists was as well calculated move by the former administration to keep the society in the dark. Mr. Jammeh submitted before the TRRC that former President Jammeh has since taking over in the 1994 coup d'etat demonstrated all forms of enmity towards the media. Let's take a look.
That Chief Mane was somewhere in the United States, but he wouldn't go any further on that. And we tried to engage him to explain more details, but he wouldn't provide it. But Yeah, so in 2011, then you had President Jammeh, who, when media chiefs visited him at State House, he was saying that he had no hands in the death of Chief Mane. And the GPU then and our partners then raised this question in an open letter to the president. You said that your government doesn't know where Chief Mane was. Then how did you know that he died? Well, he wouldn't explain. In another instant, that particular year also, then we had the vice president, Aissatou Sedi, who was, approached by the then president of the International Federation of Journalists, Omar Farouk, when they met in an international conference, and she told him, Chief might have died in the desert. You never know. Boys die in the desert, which we knew was false because Chief's disappearance, followed shortly before. He went to America for a program and he came back. So he wasn't the type of person who will actually die in the desert trying to go through the back way. So the government has been, telling some conflicting stories about the whereabouts of Chief Mane.
In a sense, what you're saying is government has given a lot of inconsistent or different stories about what might have happened to Chief Mane. How do you see all those conflicting stories? What would you call that? Would it be a cover-up?
Well, it was clearly a cover-up by the government. It was clearly a cover-up.
But from your investigations as a union, did you hear of any sightings of Chief Mane anywhere in Gambia since the first time government denied having custody of him?
During Jammeh's rule, while newspapers were allowed to operate with little freedom, radio was completely censored. Radio stations like Citizen FM, Teranga, and others that have started adding air news were shut down by the regime. African leaders have over the weekend launched a continental free trade zone that is meant to bring its billion people under one roof in business terms. The landmark treaty, ratified by 27 countries at the extraordinary summit in Niger's capital city, Niamey, is the result of 4 years of talks among the continent's highest officers. Economists say significant challenges remain, including poor road and rail links, large areas of unrest, excessive border bureaucracy, and petty corruption that have held back growth and integration. The IMF, in a report published 2 months ago, described a free trade zone as a potential economic game changer of the kind that boosted growth in Europe and North America, but it added a note of caution. We have more in this report.
A milestone for Africa with the launch of a continental free trade zone. Leaders from across the continent met on Sunday to introduce the Free Trade Bloc, the largest since the creation of the World Trade Organization in 1994. If successful, the African Continental Free Trade Area will unite 1.3 billion people and create a $3.4 trillion economic bloc, ushering in a new era of development by boosting intra-regional trade, strengthening supply chains and spreading expertise.
The eyes of the world are turned on Africa, and the success of AFCFTA will be the real test to achieve the economic growth that will turn our people's dream of welfare and quality of life into a reality. And this will reinforce our negotiating position on the international, political and economic stages.
Africa has much catching up to do. Intra-regional trade accounted for just 17% of exports in 2017, significantly lower than the 59% in Asia and 69% in Europe. It's taken 4 years of talks for an agreement to be reached on forming the bloc, and there's still challenges to overcome, including poor road and rail links, excessive border bureaucracy and petty corruption, and unrest in large parts of the continent.
We need to act quickly to reach these targets and implement the strategies. And in particular, we need to halt the threats facing the Sahel region and the Lake Chad countries. It is a matter of urgency that we get out of the Libyan crisis and that we silence weapons in Central African Republic and Somalia.
54 of Africa's 55 states have signed up to the bloc, but so far only around half of them have ratified the deal. The continent already has an alphabet soup of competing and overlapping trade zones, from ECOWAS in the west, East African Community in the east, and COMESA in the east and south. Only the East African community, driven mainly by in goods and services.
Still on the same launching of the African Continental Free Trade Zone, China has commented its willingness to continue providing assistance to the continent to strengthen its connectivity, improve business environment, and raise trade level. These were some of the words of Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Geng Shuang at a news conference in Beijing.
中方热烈祝贺非洲大陆自贸区建设。
As a good friend, partner and brother of African countries, China warmly congratulates Africa on the launch of the operational phase of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The launch signifies an important milestone in the integration of African economy and reflects African countries' strong aspiration and resolve on self-improvement and revitalization through joint efforts. Against the backdrop of an international situation with uncertainties increasing, the launch of the operational phase of the AFCFTA will serve as a driving force to safeguard multilateralism, free trade, and construct an open world economy.
世界经济注入了强劲动力。近10年来，中国一直是非洲最大的贸易伙伴，在设施联通、贸易便利、产业促进等方面。
In the past 10 years, China has remained the largest trade partner of Africa and taken active measures for facility connectivity, trade facilitation, and industry promotion to support unity, self-improvement, and free trade area construction of Africa. The launch of the AFCFTA will chart a new course for cooperation between China and Africa. China is willing to continue working together with Africa to fully implement results achieved at the Beijing summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation. Beijing is willing to enhance synergy between construction of Belt and Road Initiative by the joint efforts of China and Africa and the construction of free trade area so as to achieve more early harvest. China will also provide more assistance to African countries in terms of strengthening their connectivity, improving business environment, and raising trade levels.
27 African countries ratified the Continental Free Trade, and China bids its willingness to support the move. Air traffic at Tripoli's Mitiga Airport was temporarily suspended following an alleged rocket attack on the vicinity on Sunday. As you can see, footage filmed yesterday shows an Airbus A320 belonging to Africa Airlines, which has sustained damages to the body and has been temporarily parked. 3 technicians from the said airline, Africa Air, were also reportedly injured as a result of the incident at Mitiga, which is said to be the only functioning airport in the Libyan capital. No groups or individuals have so far claimed responsibility for the incident. But the spokesperson for the Libyan National Army Commander, General Khalifa Haftar, has since said that the government buildings in Tripoli, which have antennas installed on rooftops, are legitimate targets. This came in days after forces loyal to the same Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar admitted carrying out an airstrike on a migrant camp, killing at least 44 people. Coming up shortly, ICC convicts Congo's Ntaganda of war crimes. Welcome back. Fear over electoral rigging rocks Zimbabwe as the country.
Yesterday, after listening to Prime Minister May's assessment of the state of the negotiations,
57 vehicles, you are giving it to parliamentarians. Where is the source? The parliamentarians themselves should challenge that.
Look, APRC and GDC are not opposition. All other parties, that are not concerned, either UDP or NRP or PDP, they are all in the government.
So we better want to
Man, dama against ID card mu nekk $450. Man mosuma si ànd te du mosuma sa ànd.
yow xaalis boobu nu mu fa ñëwee loolu nga war a njëkk a laajte because social security institution doo xam ne social security warut a ñàkk a xaalis yëfi profit social security loolu waxtaani banda la loolu dafa war a automatique.
Barrow lu ma ko ñaan mooy na wàcce 3 years am su demee 5 years dafa am problème leadership bu fi bàyyi dafa bon right now amul direction bu correct réew mi ñëpp seen am nañ disappointment si nguuri Barrow.
benn nit munta jagal réew da ngaa def li nga war a def bàyyi keneen ñu continuer
Welcome back. We remind you that you're watching the World Today News Bulletin. We now kick off with our first story. The European Commission has warned Iran after the country said they would begin enriching on uranium at higher levels than internationally approved. The EU Foreign Affairs and Security Policy spokeswoman Maja Kunjanek told reporters at a news briefing in Brussels that the Union is extremely concerned about Iran's decision to increase uranium enrichment above the limit set by 2015 nuclear agreement, urging Tehran to return to its earlier commitment. Let's take a look.
Indeed, we are extremely concerned by announcements made over the weekend by Iran regarding the start of the uranium enrichment above the limit of 3.67%, which is the one that is stipulated in the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. In this context, we await the information of the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is the only impartial body that is in charge of monitoring the implementation of Iran's commitments, nuclear-related commitments under the JCPOA. We have called on Iran to not to take further measures that undermine the nuclear deal, and we now strongly urge Iran to stop and reverse all activities that are inconsistent with the commitments made under the JCPOA. That also includes the production of low-enriched uranium beyond the respective JCPOA stockpile limits, and you would remember developments in this respect of last week. We are currently in contact with other JCPOA participants regarding the next steps under the terms of the JCPOA, including a joint commission. I don't have further precisions on that before you ask. And on your last part of your questions, there are provisions in JCPOA in terms of certain steps, for example, the dispute resolution mechanism. But I don't want to start speculating on this either. I think that the clear call that we as the European Union are making is the one on Iran to stop and reverse all activities that are inconsistent with the commitments under JCPOA.
The European Union wants Iran over the increment of uranium enrichment. The International Criminal Court has found Bosco Ntaganda guilty beyond reasonable doubt of 18 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity committed in Democratic Republic of Congo between 2002 and 2003. Investigation into the situation in the Congo DRC was opened in June 2004, leading to 2 arrest warrants for Mr. Ntaganda in 2006 and 2012 respectively. He voluntarily surrendered in March 2013 through the cooperation of the United States, whose embassy he had entered. We have more in this report.
Mr. Ntaganda, please rise.
The International Criminal Court convicted former Congolese military leader Bosco Ntaganda of war crimes on Monday.
Count 1, guilty of murder as crime against humanity. As concerns count 2, guilty of murder as a war crime.
He was found guilty of all 18 charges against him, including murder, rape and conscription of child soldiers. The atrocities took place while he was military operations chief at the Union of Congolese Patriots Militia in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2002 to 2003. His sentence will be determined at a later hearing. Ntaganda's conviction is a rare success for prosecutors at the ICC, an international court set up in 2002 to prosecute war crimes and crimes against humanity when its member states are unable or unwilling to do so. Ntaganda's boss, UPC leader Thomas Lubanga, is currently serving a 14-year prison sentence after his conviction at the ICC in 2012.
All of Mr. Lubanga's arguments on
Congo's military chief Ntaganda convicted by the ICC for war crimes. Thousands of people all over the world set off for a 3-day peace march in Bosnia and Herzegovina to commemorate the 24th anniversary of the genocide in Srebrenica. More than 5,000 participants who gathered in the city since early morning hours have covered a total distance of approximately 100 kilometers. The walk then concluded at a cemetery in Potokari, a village in eastern Bosnia, just northwest of Srebrenica town, where a funeral prayer and burial ceremony have been held for 33 victims of genocide. Well, viewers, please stay tuned. And up next, we have the Good Morning Africa show, and here with me, I have the team of the Good Morning Africa show. There is Mama Fall, there's Mam Jibi, there's Amadou Kante. Lan mo gëna fess ci xibaar yi.
Jërëjëf Fatmata, ñu jaajëfal la ci xibaar yi nga xam ne moom nga doon fësal léegi ci kàllaama yi nga xam ne moom moo nekk nasaraan. Dina am solo léegi-léegi ñi ànd ak yéen ci li nga xam ne mooy xibaar yi fës ci biir kër gi comme ni ngeen ko déggee ci Fatmata, waaye daanu ànd ak newspaper yi tamit ci voice ak loolu nga xam ne moom moo nekk point newspaper. Amadou nuyu nañ la, naka suba si.
waaw alhamdulilah maam ji bi sant yàlla bu baax a baax comme ni nga ko waxee ñu amaat mbégte dellusiwaat tey ci suba sile di nuyu ajaratu bi nag mama xaw ma ajar la xaw ma gaal la xaw ma naka la waaye daal.
Where has she been? Rihanna says where has she been?
atu bu réeroon moom feeñ na foog naa de. waaw di jaajëfal Fatmata bu baax a baax comme ni nga ko waxee ci xibaar yu am solo yooyu su ko defee noonu lay demee saa su ne every suba ñëw ak Good Morning Africa indi ci xibaar yu am solo waxtaan tamit ponk yu am solo te tamit xam naa ne dana amati solo.
yaatal faram fàccee lay doon maman nuyu nañ la noo def xale bu jigéen.
asalaamaaleykum mbokk yi ñoom si taan di leen jaajëfal bu baax a baax ci biir kër gi ay Africa TV comme ni ñu koy baaxatee def si boobu jot di leen wax ne namoon naa leen trop te ko leen nama la suma boy si.
boy si acca loolu mooy li ngeen di ànd ak ci kanam tuuti Fatmata.
Oh, for more on these and other stories that I've just read, please stay tuned for the Good Morning Africa show. I am Fatmata Jaju. Bye for now. Fear over electoral rigging rocks Zimbabwe as the country.
Yesterday, after listening to Prime Minister May's assessment of the state of the negotiations,
why it is our diocesan patron feast day is because the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Assumption is dedicated.
Do not have it in their mindset or in their psyche that we are playing against Algeria.
Banjul la nga dem.
Terminal marché garage bu ko leen dul.